Okay, so today we're going to dive into something you probably never thought went together: stand-up comedy and high-stakes financial technology. We're going to break down how one artist's creative philosophy is actually being used to build safer, more ethical apps.
It sounds like the setup to a joke, right? But seriously, can the ideas that drive satire and social commentary really make the technology we use every day more humane? Well, it turns out the answer is a pretty surprising yes.
And this isn't just some thought experiment, okay? We're talking about a real-world technical framework for auditing financial apps. But the engine behind it all isn't some dry, boring legal document. No, it's a creative philosophy, a blueprint for making tech that actually respects its users. And it's inspired by the work of Indian comedian and writer Varun Grover.
So this framework is built on three core pillars that come straight from Grover's artistic style: the mandate for defiance, the very intriguing Hiraman Parrot Principle, and a concept we're going to call satirical honesty. Let's break down what each of these actually means for the apps on your phone. First up, the mandate for defiance. This is all about pushing back against the invisible power that app designs have over us. It's about questioning the authority that's baked right into the user interface. You know, the core of Grover's work is all about challenging the status quo. So this framework takes that same artistic impulse and points it directly at technology. It says, hey, the design itself has to resist the industry's standard manipulative tricks.
So what even is digital authority? Well, it's all those subtle little ways an app's design nudges you towards certain choices. Think about it. Buttons that are bigger and brighter, options that are already pre-selected for you, or important information that's kind of hidden away. The design is basically acting like an authority figure telling you what you should do.
And this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. On the left, you've got manipulative design using a pre-checked box, a forced action that just assumes you consent. But the ethical design on the right, born from defiance, forces you to actively opt in. It presents all the choices equally, respecting your freedom and your absolute right to say no.
All right, let's get to the second principle. And this one has a fantastic name: the Hiraman Parrot Principle. It's got a great story behind it, and it's all about tracing a huge problem back to its tiny, seemingly innocent source. Yeah, believe it or not, the name comes from Grover's satirical take on the film Padmavat. He basically argued that the entire disaster in the story wasn't caused by the big, dramatic battles. No, it was caused by something much, much smaller that happened right at the very beginning.
So here's how it went down. A parrot praises a queen's beauty to a king. That tiny little piece of information escalates, and it sparks obsession, then war, and then ultimately tragedy. The key takeaway is that this massive crisis was kicked off by a single, seemingly harmless trigger.
So how in the world does this connect back to your banking app? Well, the digital parrot is that little stock tip that pops up as a helpful notification. It's designed to completely bypass your rational brain and hit you right in the FOMO, leading to an impulsive and often really costly decision. So the mission here is pretty straightforward, right? Find these digital parrots, these sneaky manipulative triggers, and just get rid of them. You trace the problem all the way back to its source and eliminate the catalyst before it can cause any damage.
All right, our third and final principle is maybe the most counterintuitive one of all. It's called honesty through friction. It's this idea that sometimes the best way to protect a user is to actually slow them down and make them face the real weight of their decision.
The name for this is positive friction. And yeah, it's a deliberate design choice. Instead of making everything super smooth and seamless, you intentionally add a step, a little pause, before someone makes a big decision. It's tricky because you don't want to frustrate people, but when you do it right, it's not a bug, it's a feature that protects you from yourself.
This is basically the message that positive friction sends. It's like the app's design is grabbing you by the shoulders and saying, "Whoa, are you sure you want to do this?" It breaks that automatic flow to force a real moment of reflection right when you need it most. Look, the goal here isn't to get on your nerves. It's the exact opposite. It's all about building trust. By being bold and honest and acknowledging how serious a decision is, the app goes from being just a passive tool to a partner you can actually rely on.
Okay, so let's tie all of this together. We've got defiance, a parrot, and friction. What does it all mean at the end of the day? Why does blending a comedian's philosophy with a tech audit even matter?
This chart just lays it all out perfectly. You can see the direct line from the artistic idea to a real, practical solution. Defiance gives you, the user, your power of choice back. The Parrot Principle acts like a detective, sniffing out and removing those hidden psychological traps. And honesty is that last line of defense, giving us a second to breathe before we do something big.
It's a complete ethical shield. And look, at the end of the day, this whole idea is so much bigger than just finance apps. It's a blueprint for a totally different kind of technology, one that's built to actually serve humans, not to exploit our biases. It's about designing systems that respect our choices and, yeah, protect us from our own worst impulses.
And that really leaves us with one big final thought. This whole framework, it shows us one way to use an artist's lens to inject a bit of humanity into code. And it really makes you wonder, what would our digital world look like if every single app we used was designed with a soul?